Peace, everyone. Welcome to another Sabbath build. This is our new fellowship. I am Maria.
And I am Safta Ahava. Peace, Shalom, everyone.
Indeed. Some people, sun has not set over here, so it feels a little bit strange sometimes staring out the window as I'm doing now. And just seeing it, it's bright outside. I'm always tempted to go out. But we greet everyone, and first of all, we want to greet the Elohim, right? We want to greet our Elohim, Yah, and we give thanks. We give thanks for another strong, pushing through, moving through, walking, right? Walking and making sure our steps are in alignment with that of our Elohim, and that the words of our mouth and the meditation of our hearts are acceptable by our Elohim, most of all, making sure that, every word we say is thought through and filtered, and, we are responsible and we speak responsibly. We give thanks for the discernment that Anu gives to us every strong. And we give thanks for family. We give thanks that we are not all in the same state and in the same space all the time. We give thanks that the Elohim is moving all of us closer and closer together every single day. So we give thanks for that. And thank you all for being in the space. And last but not least, of course, we give thanks to our Elohim for our Jegna who pushes all of us way beyond the little vision that we have. Sometimes our vision is so fickle, and what he sees is so many chess moves beyond what we are able to see. So we give thanks for that. Shabbat Shalom again, everyone, and peace.
Yes, and I'm so excited about our fellowship bill this evening. As I've been honored to be allowed to be in these fellowship bills, I've learned so much about culture and about righteous lifestyle, and even just about who I am within my community and my culture. And this is no exception. Seeing the source, it is really, I learned so much just as we begin to research and study. And it never ceases to amaze me that when you become part of a community and a culture, that the knowledge that we are exposed to throughout anew is just so life-giving. So I don't want to stall any longer. And again, welcome everyone. So Cote, we're going to let you go ahead and start off. Let's get into it.
No problem. So this evening, as Safta said, we're focusing on see the source, right? Seeing the source. And, we want you to walk away from this evening's fellowship just constantly thinking about whether you do see the source of who you are and the source of where you came from. And we want you to think about connecting with that source daily. Your first breath each dawning is one of the initial connections that you have to the Most High on a conscious level, right? Because subconsciously you forever connected. There's no, there's no stopping. It's kind of like how, people say, oh, the sun is not in the sky. It is. You just can't see it, right? You can't perceive it. Um it isn't physically, well, it's physically there, but your eyes can't physically see it at the moment, so our connection to the Most High is always present. And our source, that is our source. So we are charging you, and we affirm through this charge of seeing the source that we are responsible to serve as a light to the lost nation of ancient Anu, and to support those who are Anu but don't even know it. So because of that, we can't assume or make assumptions or judge when we encounter ones and ones on the street or wherever we encounter them. We have to, share and give a good word and engage and speak, freely, because yeah, you never know, like.
That's right. And matter of fact, I was one of those people that was passed on the street until someone reached out and gave me information. I started watching the podcast, and I'm like, wow, this is making way too much sense. And one thing leads to another. It's like, once you start getting it, you want more and you want more. And the same thing, it makes me think about life abundant, you know, because you never know how much you missed until you actually start getting it. And all the questions you have that didn't seem to connect, all of a sudden now things are starting to connect. And I always said when I first came into a new, ooh, I've always lived for such a time as this, you know, and now it's just all about moving forward. And when I said that seeing the source was a really big eye opener for me, because when we first started discussing the title, you think the source is a lot of other things. Nutrition is a source, you know. Um, and right away, of course, I went to seeing Yah. How do I see Yah? How do I see Him more? How do I receive Him more fully? And that's where this um, build really began to open up for me, because what I learned, and I knew it because we are taught by Chief Yu Young, but it was broken down for a baby to understand it, and especially in one of the videos that I will forever be thankful for, um, Black Love, Men Need Respect. And what I began to really understand and see, it says that the man is the source. He is the teacher. He is the gateway to a higher realm. Every man is a Babylon of his own family. And of course, when you look at the Western culture and other cultures, many of them have patri I'm sorry, let me just slow down. Many patriarchy. They
Absolutely.
have a order in which has already been pre-established. So when I begin to really ask that, okay, I get that, I understand that, I understand how the Bible has a whole lot of scriptures that talks about the woman and the man's relationship and how we're supposed to move. Even though some cultures take it, twist it, do what they want to do with it, we, as we serve the original creator as an original people, we have to stick to what we know to be true. So jump in at any time, Cody.
I- you know so for those of you who are, I know many of us in study. And so, for those of you who are wondering where we're pulling from, some of the references that we're pulling from, as Safta said before, is Black Love, Men Need Respect. That's one of the older community shows, and the link will, I'll see if I can, like, drop the link in there, but the description underneath this YouTube video, you can definitely find the links to those specific resources, so it makes it easy for you to connect the dots, right? Which was one of the things we said we wanted to talk about, well, maybe another time. And the other thing is we're pulling from various sections of the Anu way. You never know when. So, Look for it because we always dropping it. And then there's a Chief Yuya lecture on real light versus artificial light. There is a portion, like I think on Facebook, there's like a 2 minute video on there, but it is a larger, it's part of a larger Chief Yuya lecture on the Chief Yuya channel. Again, those links will be placed in the description for you later on. But we like to make sure we start off at a leveled playing field. So when we're talking about anything, SAFTA gave us some great information about the line of authority and how that connects to our culture. But it's not but. In addition to that, we'd like to include, in addition to that, we'd like to include, the idea of seeing the source came from the term respect that Chief has broken down so many times, and that respect meaning to look back, to go back, right? To wait, where I come from? I came from back there. That's the source. To go back, right? So when we think about seeing the source, it's to look over again and see the divine, right? To see the source, to see the source of the man you selected. Because if you respect the man, then you're going to see the source, and you're going to see, wait, the source is the Most High Yah. Because guess what? The Most High Yah is yoked to that man. So you know that just flows effortlessly in terms of like
Mhm.
connection to source. I'll pause.
No, I just wanted to interject there as you were talking about the connection. I again, um, I really can appreciate this bill because when I think about the source, if you're not connected or if you're unknowing, I think about where did Eve come from? She was taken out of the rib of Adam, so and he was already connected to the Most High, yeah, but he was already in between her and the Most High because she was taken out of him. She wasn't created by the Most High separately away from the man. There's already a connection there that puts him in that place of authority. And I started as I began to look at the source and understand, um, as Akoti said, go back to the source. And now with what I know that source for me is my head. It's the
Right,
man, which also speaks of the hierarchy of the limit of how what we practice in a new. But and it's so because we studied this from a lot of different angles, and when I look at why it's so important that you practice the culture, that your own culture, is because you can get knowledge from someone else's culture that will not work for you. How many times have we, living in the Western culture, we see other people become successful as they follow certain rules that are given, but those rules don't work for us because we're not a part of their culture. So it just keeps bringing me right back to find out what our source is. And for us here in Anu and for our culture, the man is the source and he is the teacher. He is the Babalao of his home. And again, I just, and this takes us to, especially as women, um, why it's so important that we respect our heads, that we respect the man. And again, the Western culture, they'll flip backwards, with this culture of women, super women, and women in power and all this. And we wonder why the world is a mess.
yeah, well, as you said that, I thought of a clip that Chief shared early on this strong of an older sharing, I mean, what's for the world and is of the world is for the world and is of the world, but she was saying, scrub the man back. That's like the sum total of the uh wisdom that she had for the women in the church. So, it really goes to show how important it is to be a part of a community, a discerning community who teaches discernment and teaches, right, righteous law, like right law, righteousness, and a culture that's for us. Um, so, as we think about the source again, I definitely think it's important to consider too. Yeah, my guide, my lead, my head is Chief Yuya. It's important to understand that when I walk and move, I must also know that my source is Elohim, right? So I'm not thinking my source or where I come from is this bunch of cells that just make up, the physical structure of the body that's on this plane. you know it isn't just the sum total of me. Yes, I am connected to the Elohim through the man. It's important to understand that when I walk, I'm a reflection of the Elohim here. I have a soul. A soul is a portion of that, right? So I can't walk and just like be pretend like I'm just this empty shell. I gotta walk with my spirit, and my spirit is all intertwined in here, in between the everything that makes up all the synapses and everything. It's not just this physical shell here. These things mean nothing. They mean absolutely nothing.
That's right. And with the blueprint that we've been given for our culture, in the Western culture, I would be considered a widow because my mate has transitioned. And he doesn't leave me out there by myself because I
Right.
do have a son who is living a righteous culture. He, at this time, is my covering. So I still have connection. I'm not left, and when you're living in a righteous culture, the way the world has it, and I'll say the world, but what I mean is this Western culture, because that's what I've experienced. Um, they make up stuff as they go. That's what I've learned in my lifetime. I've seen things being made up as they move along. We're not like that in Anu because we not only do we have a source that we're connected, but the Most High Yah already foreseen, He see behind, before, and everything in existence and all things that are coming. And having that connection, I don't have to walk through life guessing or wishing or on a wing and a prayer, as they say. You know, um, it's like I can be sure-footed, you know, and I don't have to know which way I'm walking. I just know I'm walking on solid ground because I'm connected, you know. And so again, when Master Minilek in the chat, he said Safta could almost taste the word. I did. Just as I have been learning, Akoti Maria spoke about our Chief Jedna, Chief Yuya. I mean, he's so connected that unless we don't do the work we're called to do as individuals, that's the only way we're not going to be connected. You know, and I stay connected to, I still have, as I mentioned, I may not have a mate or a husband, but I have a son who's living in a righteous community that keeps me connected. So I'm not left out in the blind as I would be if I were to hold on to the title that the Western culture gives me as, oh, she's a widow, you know, and that's on everything. Are you married? Are you separated? Are you a widow? you, I want to write in, no, I'm covered,
Mhm.
because I'm connected. And that's so important, and that is part of that righteous community. I don't want to get ahead, but I have to say this now because one of the things that we discovered, and it's a scripture that I've always appreciated, but I appreciate even more now, and that's Hosea 4:6. It says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. That means everything when we are out there walking in a culture, following laws that were not established for us in our culture. So I keep going back to culture because what we're building on is seeing the source. And this may not be a source that you have been introduced to or know anything about, but that's why it's so important that you not walk around letting people tell you how you're supposed to live, tell you what you're supposed to believe, but we have the ability. The word also says, study to show thyself approved. So we're not supposed to be without knowledge, because without knowledge, there's no understanding. And without knowledge, there's no wisdom. And then there's no understanding, which also ties back into what we're bringing into this bill. So please join in and please share where you're at with this, because I've only been in the new, I'm coming up on my third year. And I can't tell you how drastically my life at my age has changed for the better. You know, I'm living my best life at this point because
Ah,
I've been in the dark. You know what I'm saying? I've been without knowledge, without understanding, and definitely without wisdom. So again, you know, please share, because I'm always bragging about, and I say bragging because I think it's not only an honor, and I don't think I was more deserving than anyone else to come upon this knowledge.
right.
But again, all you have to do is be searching for truth, and look in the right places. You know, test the spirits, because that's what I did do. Coming from a church, and everything that I have learned in a new actually was something that I didn't study, and I wasn't even encouraged to study it in the church. So let's just get back to what we're bringing here on this
You
evening.
you said test, test the spirit. Some as a woman, we're not like the man rightly divides the word. So sometimes we're not even connected to spirit. So there's no testing it because there's no connection. And like that's, I know that's part of a recent charge for us, and that's definitely um a required quality for women within Anu, but it is, we're like at we're 20 minutes into our build and we are just flowing, but I think it is important to see the source. So I want to see and greet divinity walking on earth here. So I greet you, Chief Yuya. Give thanks and praise for your presence in the space today. I know you're like way down on the list, but you're first. They said the last shall be first and the first shall be last. So yeah. And I wish I had a horn to kind of big up everyone. So let's do a roll call. All right. Roll call. I can't sing, y'all. So, but roll call. Yafe, greetings. Jason, Aki Jason, Prada, greetings. Let me see. Ima Saftanaya, greetings. Peace. Anu Life Global Ministries is in the space. The stream is live. Join if you like. You know, Anu Radio, that is Sister Yamina. Big up yourself. Master Menelek, House of Menelek is in the space, y'all. Lo the Scholar, that is our Aki El Karar and Ima Sequoia. Big up yourself. Abba Heru, big up yourself. Anu Radio is in the space again. Mayuba, all right, peace, welcome. Ain't see you in a long time, but now you're here. So greetings again. Alpha Woman Now is in the space. Give thanks. Master Menelek. Oh, that was a joke about tasting the word. And Chief you again. Okay. Yes, give thanks. Listen, it's always a beautiful thing to be able to be in space, even though this is virtual. We give thanks for the virtual nonetheless. Nonetheless. Um, I wanted to pause because Yakira Eden gave us a great point. She says, great point. SAFTA not only does the culture of others not work, it actually causes damage and moves us farther away or farther from our yeah. Sure. It's designed to do that. Is designed to prevent us from seeing our source, right? How about that? It's designed to have us actually disrespect our source because we disobedient.
And, you know, I remember, I'm not quite sure because there are so many platforms where we're poured into by our chief Jetnam, but I remember once him saying something to the effect that he saw what's going on right now a long time ago when they first started introducing all these different gender things and
Right.
when women, you know, you got this 90-pound female who's a superhero and she kicking the 300-pound man around a room, you know, it's like this I was about to call it this feminist movement. It started a long time ago, but it just
It is.
yeah, it starts like a little dot and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until now, you know, they're talking about women in power. You know what I mean? It's just so crazy that when you mentioned it's designed to move us away from the most high, totally takes us out of order, totally takes our eyes off the source, as though we can do it all by ourselves, when we know that, you know, even when we talk about the Trinity, there's a special, it's a reason why you have man, woman, child, why you have the head, the body, you know, because even as again as we were studying this and I was thinking about how man is the source and how the man is the head and the woman is the body, just as Yeshua was the head over the church, over the body. And that's when we start getting into the details of why we have to respect our man. When we were listening to that video, one of the interesting things, one of the callers that came on mentioned about, she spoke about um, someone, a man in her life, and the fact that she couldn't respect him for whatever reason. And one of the things Chief said was, they come together. If he's not your man, if you don't respect him, because they come together, man and respect. If you can't respect him, he's not your man. You know, and I thought about that and I was like, wow, how many times did I go left on that? You know, again, we're following somebody else's game plan, you know, what they say we're supposed to do. So that began right there to lay a foundation for me as I relate Yeshua over the church, which is the body. The man is also over his household. And there was also a scenario given about a lion, a pack, you know, how, and the reason why we have to respect our man, you know, because he's sacrificial for us as Christ sacrificed himself for the church. The man sacrifices himself for his family in more ways than one. And now that we focused on it, I can think of so many ways that the man is the sacrifice for his family, which just that alone should be a reason to respect him, you know. And there's a lot more that comes with that when we talk about respect, you know, because there was also a two-parter there where it talked about man, and even in Ephesians, where, you know, we're told, um, and I always wondered that, you know, why is the woman told to love her husband, but the man told to love his wife, which is his body, and why the woman is told to respect? I thought only respect, but when you think of what respect actually brings, um, in that same, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna. I wanted to say something earlier, long before we got here, so I'll jump back around. I'll come back around. Finish your point, Rob.
But when we talk about respect and what respect really means, to speak highly of, to hold in high regard, to praise, how often do you praise the head of your household? Or even for my sake, it would be my covering, which is my son. And as I've stepped back, and like I was told, I thought at one point, and I had a sister correct me, because I said, well, I just let him do. She said, whoa, 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 whoa. You don't let him do nothing because he's a man. He, you don't have to let him be who he already is. And I thought, wow, that is so true. So it told me I need to step back and allow myself to be the woman. I need to let me be who I'm supposed to be. That's all I can do. But, um, this helped me to put things into perspective. And once again, the Most High already gave us the blueprint. He already told us the order.
Earlier you spoke about a little bit, I guess, about alien culture, and we'll talk about alien culture a little bit later on, like toward the end. Um, but it's real easy to forget our source because when we are bombarded by, and sometimes we bombard ourselves because we allow ourselves to, and I'm talking about those who, like, if you're listening to something because you want to, you want to shift your energy, because music, sound, vibration shifts things real quick, like if your home just sits there with no music and nothing to charge the space, not even your word song, whether you're making affirmations or not, yeah. Like, let's see what's gonna happen. It just sits there. So I get it, but when you mentioned something earlier, and I thought about the way even music lends itself to the confusions that we have in terms of, like, what is our source, where are we from, can we indeed do this and function as the head or usurp the role of a man? The music we listen to tells us that all the time. The music we listen to continues to affirm. And you know what's interesting? It speaks directly to our subconscious mind. So your conscious mind talking one thing, but your subconscious mind actually dictating how, or we, right? I'm saying you, but is we, dictates how we move, how we function, the things that we inherently see as, superior, you know? So it is a battle. It's a battle for our minds. So it's really important to think about what we do surround ourselves with, because that influences the thoughts that we have about whether we do respect the melanin dominant man who's our head and our rightful, leader. Like, yeah, because we're constantly listening to music, we're constantly
Mhm.
listening to or watching even shows, even
That's
shows
right.
that continue to perpetuate that. And the truth is, I know sometimes people watch them and break them down and say, you know what, this is wrong, and these are the things here actually they pull us away, as Ima Yakira Eden was saying, it pulls us further from our creator, our Yah, our Elohim. But even though we're able to see it, even though we're able to identify that some of these things are wrong, we're still feeding our subconscious mind that thing. It is.
And it's so subtle that at first we don't even recognize it. I think Chief was, again, mentioning not so long ago about, I'll just use an example he used, the Cosbys. We were so excited as a melanin people to see a Black family show that was what we thought was, finally showing us in a different light of being professionals. We didn't notice the roles that they gave the man and the woman. He was silly and goofy. Mom was the serious lawyer who actually had the last say. And it was done so subtly. Yeah, there was a mother and a father there, but if we were to pay attention to their reaction, the kids would go to the mom for the real serious stuff, you know. And I just it's so easy for us to be brainwashed in this culture and this society, you know. Oh, Chief is saying something here. He says sisters are doing it for themselves. I am woman, hear me roar. Yes, to the left. I'm every woman. I can do bad all by myself. Go away, boy. No scrubs. Can you pay my bills? Look at that. It speaks for itself. And we're singing it, and our kids, our daughters are singing it, before they even had an opportunity to. A man don't have a chance. We're in our group, our women's group, we're going through the Shahrazad Ali book, right now, about the Black man's guide to understanding the Black woman. And it's, again, this started so long ago that I can think of things I watched my mother do and say to my father that affected the way I handled my first so-called boyfriend, which is a whole nother different tell, because in the right culture you don't even have to go through all that, the boyfriend and the dating and the. But yeah, it's a we're not even aware of what we're being indoctrinated with, which is also why we need to see the source and to be connected to the source. And that comes through the knowledge, which for me, it began in community. Because up until I came into a new, I can honestly say all the years I spent in churches, I just listened to what I was being told, how I was supposed to think, what I was supposed to believe. And if it sounded good, yeah, I should do that. Without putting any time and study and research for myself, and I probably would have learned a lot different. And who knows, could have found my way into the culture and community sooner. But that's not to say, now was my time. The timing for me was now. And that's what I'm thankful for. But yeah, Akoti, seeing the source is something that, just like you mentioned, right now, we are in the women's our women's group is getting ready to go on a spiritual fast, because we allow so many distractions and outside things to affect even how we receive our covering and our mate, you know because you can't let anything get in between that connection with your source.
Right, right. But I mean, she just gave a list, and that's like a mini list, because when you were speaking earlier, a song that actually came to mind was I Could Do It All by Myself. That's an actual song. And I was like, what? And it's so catchy. I literally remember an older in my family singing another song, and I said to her, that's really perverted. Why would you sing something like this that speaks about a woman, like kissing another woman and liking it? Like, why would you sing that? And her response to me with her daughter in the car was, she likes the song, like she likes the music. So it doesn't matter. The words do not matter. The lyrics matter. The words, spells, spelling, like they will put a spell on you. Who sang that song? I put a spell on you. Oh gosh, her name's not coming to me. I could see her face. But yeah, words put a spell on us, and I don't think we understand how deep that spell goes, because
That's
it
right.
begins to dictate, yeah, are we speaking highly of our mate? Are we
Yeah.
speaking highly of our source? Or when something that we perceive to go wrong goes wrong, as they say, um, do we begin to kick rocks and, say that about our creator? Like, do we begin to, question what the Creator is doing in our journey? Do we begin to, express how dislike or disapproval? Um, are we rude and out of order? The truth is, if we were to take those words and say it to a person, right, we'll recognize that it's rude and out of order. But the truth is, we having that kind of dialogue daily, every moment of the day. Um, and if you were to say that, then the truth is you're flying in the face of your creator. That's a phrase like I've heard people say, like you're flying in the face of the most high, you know? So that idea of respect is to speak highly of and to hold in high regard and to praise. And so the things that we listen to must do that, so that way we internalize that praise, we internalize that speaking highly, and it doesn't begin to our words say one thing and then our what's happening in our mind is something else, right? It's something else. So say yes, give thanks to the most high, but in your mind you're still flying in the face of the creator, right?
Yes, yes. You know, when you were talking about a song you thought of, when Chief gave us that list of songs, for some reason, the song that came to mind for me was "When a Man Loves a Woman," and because and again, when you think about a man, the Ephesians says, "Woman, respect your husband; man, love your wife as you love your own body." It's because again, we're talking about that connection that she needs
Mhm.
to the Most High Yah, and that comes through. I mean, it comes through that connect, and we connect in so many ways, but even through a sexual connection, which is another reason why we don't need to be, women shouldn't be out there laying up with any and everything, because sometimes you might connect to not the Most High, but if he's not connected to the Most High, but ain't no telling what you connecting yourself to. I can testify to that myself. So again, that's why it's so important
Right,
that
right. But it's the same thing when we say, okay, I'll, decide about a community, whether I want community or not, or especially if we're mated at the moment, then you're going outside of the structure of your home, because actually it's a man who should be deciding, who, what, where, and why, how. You know, here's the strategy. We're gonna be doing this, and then yeah, you get the tactics, sister. That's for you to.
and that's the lie, because I can do bad all by myself. No, you're gonna do worse all by yourself. Because again, I go back to when I started really learning supreme mathematics and understanding why man is knowledge, woman is wisdom, and child is understanding. And everything fits together so perfectly in our culture. Once you put in the work, to gain the knowledge, and you then everything starts to make sense. You know, going back over to the chat, because Akio Karar said, and the list goes on, Chief. Yes. And Iman Sequoia says the Jezebel and Ahab dynamic is very prevalent in what it seems most movies are TV shows. And again, they're based on this culture. I'm so excited because on our watch party on the Sabbath, it's supposed to be based on, or I believe, on the culture we live. So I'm so excited to see that, you know, um, because unless, we know, I mean, I've watched all kind of trash that, I'm going through a cleansing, most mentally, emotionally, and because all the trash has to go out so you can be filled with the righteous things. But yeah, the movies now that are out there, they all speak to that. You know, it's just all trash. Master Menelek says, "You are the prizes, sis. I'll submit if he's worth submitting to. I really don't get along with other women because I don't like drama, but don't understand what's wrong with. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Master Menelak. We come up with so much, and it's because we're, the blind women. We were talking earlier about getting to know each other, and I was telling someone that it's funny because black. I always thought black was one of my favorite colors because black gave me a calmness and a stillness. Because when you close your eyes, it's like darkness, you know. And I thought, yeah, I'm calm when I can't see anything. And now I'm beginning to understand why that's so. Because if I can't see anything, then I'm dependent on someone else to lead me and to guide me. And that is, woman did come out of darkness, and man is light. And so it's just it's so many layers to this. It's matter of fact, when we were studying, Akoti Maria said, well, are we going to do a part 1, 2, and 3? Because again, this is it's a lot of layers to that.
I wanted to respond to the point Sequoia mentioned, Jessica, and very prevalent in what it seems like most videos and movies and TV shows and so on. It goes back to the music, it goes back to the idea of programming, so you can be programmed by the environment, right? Nature, which is showing you how to be obedient, disciplined, and consistent, walking and aligning with the will of the Most High, walking and aligning with Yah, walking and aligning with seasons, walking and aligning with cycles, walking and respecting birth and death. Like we could go on and on and on. I could go on and on and on and on. That's why, like I'll say this. I moved from New York to North Carolina. I'm giving out my business now. Oh gosh. And though this is why it was wrong at that time. So those sisters listening, don't decide, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go hike now, cause yeah. No, it was wrong because I had no chaperone. I was moving uncovered, and I thought I could do it by myself. Yeah, I thought I could do it by myself. So I was like in the woods, see me with my compass and my map, like I think I'm doing something. No, no. Um, but the reason I would always connect or want to connect is because of how disconnected it felt moving around in the city, right? Now I know better. Now I know, and I do know at that point, like I knew there's that you can be connect and maintain a connection with the Most High, but you need that going into nature, So, and I know part of I think on Wednesday during our study session, we talked about wearing headphones and things like that, and how even that disconnects, But we choose that over the connection that we have to nature, which is constantly showing us how to function. Um, Not that we should praise nature, right? Because that's not what we do. We have to give honor to the source, right? Not the evidence of the source and the evidence of the creator, which would be nature. So I think about um, that and how much movies and being tuned into shows and that being the thing. Like most people are, I have this show and that show and I like this one, and it constantly pulls us away from the ability to connect. I could watch a whole movie sitting in my backyard. Let me tell you something. It's a whole show happening when the sun begins to rise. So those are the things. I guess my point is like these are the things we should allow to um, program us and code us, as opposed to TV shows. And you brought up the point about Jezebel, and it made me think of the way it's connected to seeing the source, because Isabel, as she shared in the series, and for those of you who are not aware of the series we're talking about, Chief Yuya on his channel chiefyuya.com, has a podcast, and that podcast is streamed across all of the live streaming platforms that you could think of. So if you go on there and you look for Chief Yuya, boom, you're gonna find it. Red and black logo, you know. On the website is gold and black, really dope logo. But he spoke about the meaning of Isabel, and it being connected to where's the question, where's the prince? So it's kind of like, yeah, where's the source? Where's the leader here? Like, ain't no leader, it's me. I'm the source. It's all me, which is wicked and wrong. Wicked and wrong. So it is, in a sense, it came to me because it's like the opposite of what we're actually talking about here, what we're actually, charging everyone to live by and function by this evening, which is moving every day in alignment with the will because you see the source. Speaking highly of the Most High, speaking highly of yourself, not degrading yourself, not degrading like who you are in a sense. I'm not saying, oh, say I'm proud of myself. That's not what I'm saying. But many times we say, I'm so stupid for doing this. Like, what are you saying? What are you really saying? You're programming your own self. You're programming yourself, and then you're dissing your creator. You're dissing your source. Dissing your source. All right. I know. Did you read Master Menelek's? So Master Menelek.
Yes, I did read that one.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And thank you for sharing that, Nina Simone. Because the name was, it's like, I could see her face. I could see her sitting at the piano, rolling her head, doing all kinds of things. The name wouldn't come to me. All right. Yes. Okay. Sure. All right. Marjorie, thanks for that conversation and that action of phrases, yeah, because that's why we are here to honor that day, that creator, that Elohim, that God, and not necessarily any others. So give thanks for that. Akiel Kara says, I'll stay in the friend zone till she comes around, then I'll show her I can be the man she needs. Uh she yeah.
So I think you skipped, because after her, Chief had said, that's like saying, I'll be a masculine man when the right woman, when the oh when the right woman or one's comes along. Until then, hey girl, how you doing? That's reminds me of that particular how you doing. When I see that, I think about what's his name, Tyler Perry, and going from Medea to the man, from Medea to the man, and when he says I'll be the masculine man, because when Tyler Perry plays himself, he always comes or tries to come across as being masculine, you know. But it's like so if we don't present ourselves, women, if when what I'm learning with the respect thing is I don't just respect the men in my culture. I've learned to respect all men because I never know if one of them will end up in our culture at one point or another. So what I have learned is, and when you do that, a lot of times you don't put yourself in a position to be hollered at. Like, hey girl, if I'm at the store, and even now I get men who will say, hey, what's up? I'm like, all is good. My response is not that of somebody you could pick up on the street. So I still have to carry myself a certain way, which I do. And he's already looking at the way I'm dressed and that my hair is covered. So the way we present ourselves is gonna pull a response. And not everybody is cognate. You do got some people out there, no matter what you look like, or I've even had men who holler when I'm with someone. So that right there just tells you a whole different thing. And in that instance, I didn't have to respond because I was with someone else. And if they didn't respond, it definitely wasn't my place to respond. So, again, all this, the way we respect, the way we carry ourselves, you know, um, if you were to meet a masculine man, and you carry yourself a certain way, you know, like I'm going back to what Chief said. He said that's like saying I'll be a masculine man when I meet the right woman. But for a woman, I don't know when I'm meeting the right man. So I've got to be on my square at all times. I've got to carry myself like I'm connected to a source at all times. And even though my source at this time is my son, he keeps me connected. He keeps me grounded, and when I say or do something that is not becoming, I immediately get corrected and have learned to love and receive that correction. Because at one point I did pick and choose who I received things from, but being a woman, especially in my community, I'm going, I have to, I respect all the men in our community. And I respect men outside of the community because I never know. I never know who, what, or where those men are from. So, it's when we bring out the best in ourselves, we can only expect. And I don't do that by myself. So when I say the best in ourselves, the best is brought out in me because I'm connected. And I know that there's things I could have never done without that source, which it just demands respect right off the top. I caught, it was really, I liked the way Chief responded to this one caller because she was the one complaining about how do you respect this type of man. And once he gave her the answer, she said, I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate you being straightforward. And as she exited the call, he said, and I appreciate your respect. And I caught that and I was like, because she respected him and what he was bringing to the table, even though she was at a relationship with someone she could not respect. So it is important. One of the things that I did as I was going through all these things, I thought about a story about so if you know that, and this is just a scenario I want to give, if you know that you and your whole family is going to die tomorrow, if you don't follow the exact directions of a certain device, depending on the model number, would you not make sure that you have the correct directions for the direct model number? Because that's how we play Russian roulette with not just our lives, but the lives of our family. By not seeing the source. As women, and I can only speak at this point from a woman's point of view. But we play Russian roulette because we're out here following things that are not even meant for us. And when our life is wrecked and we're all toe up and going down the wrong path, now we want to save me, Jesus. You know what I'm saying? we now we want to sit back and wait for somebody to ride in on a white horse and save us from ourselves. When it was never meant for us to be by ourselves or to ourselves. So again, seeing the source is really um, Coty Moran, you mentioned, our study group. Uh, I had been running around and taking care of business and just around all kind of people that was, I refused to let them rub me the wrong way in trying to handle business that day. And when I finally rushed home and I joined the study group, I came in at a time when it was some very I mean, it just struck me right in my heart when I first started listening to the conversation. And what it came down to is, yes, I'm connected to the source, but sometimes when you mention about the distractions and that pre-programming that we've got that blocks us from being connected completely, totally, you know, and that's where I realized I was at. Yeah, I listen to my covering, and but sometimes even in that, you have to remember why you do what you do. Why do I listen to him? Why do I respect him? Why? And then you get back to what you're really supposed to be doing. And I know that I'm being freed up to really be connected, and to really appreciate his connection. So yeah.
You, you know, I think it's really is crucial to pause even and like acknowledge that lineage, because we opened up this section of our build with our culture as a subtopic and just like looking at the line of authority. And that line of authority, we know our culture is one that's a patriarchal one. We know that that line of authority comes, from Yah through the man, to us. And if you continue to move around the space as if, well, we don't need a head, you don't need um a man, then the demons that exist inside of us will not be removed. That's the reality. And in real light versus artificial light, in Chief's lecture, like, he speaks about how important it is to follow patriarchy because of that real light that's actually poured from the man into us. And you're not just getting the light from wherever, and you're not standing in the sun and getting that light either. Okay? For right? We're not sun worshippers here. Um, the light of the Elohim is being poured into him, and he is pouring into us, into the woman. So I remember seeing a picture. I don't know, many of you probably have seen this picture before. It's like, it's so silly, but it's a picture. It's funny too. It's a picture of a man, woman, child, and there's a man with a watering pot pouring um watering a woman who is standing literally beneath him, and she has like this weird flower thing on her head. I don't know. And she is holding up wisdom, is holding up understanding, and understanding is actually dressed like a bee. I thought that was so cute because it was like, oh my gosh, there's a man pouring into the woman and she's like blossoming, and there's this bee buzzing around her. I'm like, that's so adorable. But like, that's a cutesy version of it. But when you get down to the real of it, it's that light actually helps to push out and remove demons, and it helps to purify us as women. And so seeing the source is crucial, seeing the reason for having source in our journey and our lives. Just the presence of the source alone, like, imagine the presence of light. If my switch was closer, I'd take the light off right now. Just for the I don't know, sometimes I get animated, right? But yeah, just imagine that light. Imagine what it is like when there's a solar eclipse, right? What does that look like? Imagine when the moon is not at its fullest. I wonder when is the next full moon, by the way. I used to pay attention to those things like so many times, but just paying attention to how it looks, how bright it is outside, and how the light shifts, and how much, just paying attention to how much you can see and perceive, with the presence or the absence of light. I think that's really crucial. So if you have not looked at the Chief Yuya real light versus artificial light, um, it's really important to, you know, jump on that, because Yah has already created this blueprint for us in terms of family structure. And that blueprint does not include you moving around alone, not seeing source. Um, so yeah, I wanted to point that out and just bring that up. I know there's a lot happening in the chat. Akiel Carrara says, I'll stay in this friend zone till she comes around, then I'll show her I can be the man she needs to be. And you'll be forever in the friend zone. So she said so wonderfully stated, Safta, nice breakdown of the color black. Um, I think that happened such a long time ago that I don't even remember that piece. El Karar, because that always works. Right, Master Menelik, right. That, yeah, doesn't work. Okay, they're having conversations with themselves in here. That's a good thing, though. Um, Master Menelik, El Karar says it's a foolproof plan. It can't go wrong. Baby, you should let me love you. Let me be the. Oh boy. Yeah, we get caught up on those foolish things, those song lyrics that people sing because they want to make money. How about that? Because it feels good. It's kind of like church music, right? Make me feel good. But for real, do you really, really feel good? You know, is there really joy in your life? You know, are you really making a connection with that person, or is it just baby love me? Because yeah. You can't eat love. Let me just say. Um, Especially the worldly understanding of love. I think that's also important because we think about love. For those of you who are anu, jump in the chat, put it on in there. We know what love is. Love is that connection. He says no degradation. Call me Mansa the king. Self-determination is key. Maji Marie says you could be walking around in a Ziploc bag. Some people don't care. A what? A Ziploc bag. I mean, a Ziploc bag is clear. So I don't know. Maybe they're seeing more than you think they're seeing. You know what I'm saying? Ziploc bag reference. Absolutely respecting men. Whenever we're in trouble, our men are the first to help us. They're the first, there's the last, they're the only, they're the problem solvers. They're not the ones reporting problems, but they're the problem solvers. They're the ones who they see a way when we can't see a way, right? That's why
When you were talking a few minutes ago about the video, real light versus artificial light, also in that video, I remember, no, excuse me. It was back on the Black Love series,
oh,
Women Respect. And it was, they were talking about woman needs love and, well, man needs respect. But some women say they can't love a man they don't respect, but yet not having the understanding that a man can't love a woman, who does not respect him. So, Chief even breaks it down about, a man could go to work and he can be tired, and he's been preparing and he's been providing for the home, and come back home and his woman's got dinner on the table, and her little negligee on, and so she wants her love now, right? But he's tired, so it's a sacrifice. But because she brings that respect, because she's doing the things that he needs to make sure is done so he can be and do what he needs to do as the helpmate, there comes the sacrifice for him. I'm going to love her because she respects me, because she does and brings what needs to happen in my home as I have requested. So just like Chief said, a man can't be your man if you don't respect him. Also, you have to see how a man can't just lay up and love you if you don't have that respect. He also says that, which I thought I really liked it when he said that you can't. how did he put it? I don't want to misquote him because he sure will say, I didn't say that. Who said that? I didn't say that. But he when he was talking about a woman wants to be desired, you know, and a man should not need a woman but want her, you know. So because you get all these marriages that come together talking about, yeah, I'm marrying her because she just graduated with her master's degree, and you know, we gonna make money. I'm gonna be able to buy my business. And I know of a brother who said, yeah, when she graduate, she gonna pay for me, you know, to get my business started, you know. So it's not, the balance is not there. The foundation that Yah has called to be there. A woman should not be needed, she should be wanted and desired, and that comes from us respecting, you know. So Aki al Karar don't have to just stay in the friend zone, because that female he meets, she gonna come with respect, you know. She gonna come acting and being who she's supposed to be. So right away, he wants to allow her to see, you know, the lion in him, the masculine male leader in him, you know. And that's why I really have a lot of respect for my son, my covering, because he learned early that you don't want to start making babies with somebody you don't know, or that, you know, because you may be on totally different pages. And, you know, I have to say, he's the only one of my youth that did learn that. But there he go. He's the connected one. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I didn't even learn that at the time when I began to, you know, mate up with people. It wasn't until after I had a child and I said, ooh, where'd she get that from? Ooh, you know, why does she act like that? You know, of course, I was the Jezebel, and we had the Ahab thing and the Jezebel thing going on. So, but yeah, it's so important that we as women come correct.
Aki Master Menelek posted something. He said, my father and I were speaking yesterday about the conditional love and respect that men are subject to, and how being able to provide is a part of it, but isn't our only purpose. Um, well, that, you know, like that sounds like alien culture, you know, in terms of like alien culture making us believe that, yeah, the man is just there to do all the work. You know, you do all the work, you know. And we talk a little bit about alien culture later on down. It is 9:13 though, I want to acknowledge that. So and I know we're moving through, and you know, everybody's building and so on. I wanted to pause and just say, if you are really listening to this Sabbath build and enjoying the space and enjoying the fellowship, even if you're not, but you are still listening, and we are 1 hour and 13 minutes and 7 seconds in, that means you're loving it, you know, because you're here still, right? So please share this Anu Life Global Ministries channel with anyone who you know can, you know, benefit from the bills and the conversation. But more than just conversation, these community conversations that we're having, these are actual fellowships we're building. Um, Everyone is engaging in the chat and sharing, and not just sharing and putting their 2 cents based of their own understanding, but sharing the Anu knowledge that they've gathered and learned over the years and adding to the cipher, you know. So I just want to pause and ask everyone to share this, right? If
Mhm,
you're looking at this future, uh,
mhm.
drop a comment the comment section below. But I charge everyone who is in the space right now to do a little quick promo. You know, copy paste. We all have smartphones. Copy paste send. You know, share it. You know, share it with your WhatsApp. That's very easy to do. Share it in your stories. Share it with somebody who you know can benefit from this. Um,
Just jumping in real quick because what you just said, I just want to go back to that scripture that I shared earlier from Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge because they have rejected knowledge. If you're not seeking truth and utilizing everything, and especially this is why, Chief Yuya, he started sharing podcasts years ago, so you can't make an excuse these days with all our modern technology that, you didn't know or you didn't know how to connect because it's there for you. So don't perish because of lack of knowledge. There's our Chief Jetna. Hi, Chief Yuya.
Peace,
Peace.
peace. Good evening, sisters. Yeah. I'm not gonna ask how y'all doing because you wouldn't tell me the truth in public like this anyway. So I'll just say peace. You ever see people do that when they come on talk shows? Hey, how you doing? And there's a whole studio audience, cameraman, and the world's watching. I'm not gonna tell you how I'm really doing. But I just wanted to add on, I see sisters are really building and putting in some serious work. And I know you invited people to contribute, and um, I just wanted to add on strength, to what you're doing, what you're saying, because I think this is a very important subject, and I think it's very nuanced at times too. And some of the things that you two have been speaking about have been those nuances that I find interesting. I find respect as a concept interesting because it involves listening, and I love to listen. So even though respect means to go back and look, but it's like even that concept of looking is esoteric. Like when we say, "Hey, what's your view on this?" We're not gonna say, "Oh, well, it looks like a rectangle and it's got feathers on the side." No, we want to know like, how do you feel about it? How does it attack all your senses? So I find just respect a very interesting concept because it allows you to communicate with people who you might not normally be able to communicate with. You might be in a situation with someone who speaks a language, and if you don't respect them, you won't be able to communicate. But if you respect them, you can communicate because all you got to do is just listen a little more. you know so as respect tells us to go back and listen, go back and consider again, go back and regard this experience or regard this person again. Do it again, do it again, do it again. How many times? Keep doing it until there ain't nothing more to do, right? So even if this person is speaking a different language that you don't speak, you'll be able to communicate if there's respect. So it becomes like a universal gateway between cultures, and I'd say even a universal gateway between our better self and our less good self. That issue of respect. Even when the better self listens to the less good, some of us have hangups. Like I heard you all were talking about the Jezebel thing, or like Maria when you went to North Carolina, and you just knew you was going to be hiking, and I made it clear that you would not be hiking. Those type of things, right? But it's it's that respect. It's sometimes it's so nuanced in that sense, and it's that respect where you go back and you get silent. Like if you're listening to someone and you're thinking about your retort, there's no way you could be respecting, because respecting requires you to go back and look and listen. So if I'm looking and I'm listening, I can't be speaking. you know so, or even thinking, because my thoughts will get in the way. I got to go back and regard again, because if there's no respect in the space, that means I missed something. So I'm just always very fascinated by the nuances, and even the sisterhood that can be generated through respect, and the brotherhood that can be generated, because our senses are all over. Even if we was just gonna say eyes, right? I got eyes all around me, because even when I'm not looking, my spiritual community's looking. Somebody's always looking for me. So you can't really do anything to me because I'm so old that I have so many ancestors from probably they was some of the first ones here in the beginning, to step on the planet that it's hard to get to me. It's too many eyes all around me, right? So that lets me know that respect is not just something that I can have for myself. It's not just something I can have for one person. Like I may say, well, my eyes are pointing this way, so I see this way, so I'm going to respect this way. But respect is something that shoots out in all directions. So when we learn to truly have respect, we begin to respect everyone. We begin to respect all things. We can't help it because it just shoots out. We get to see and regard and consider everyone and everything as a result, despite their culture or anything like that. You know,
Thank you. Thank you.
sure.
Um I have visions of images in Cuba actually speaking to someone who spoke absolutely no English
Mm-hmm.
and tell you the only is that is just like a connection and that respecting.
Yeah. Did she freeze or did she froze? Right. Yeah. Well, I'll pick up on the Cuba story because
Let
I
me see.
I lived in Cuba for some time as well. I know. Oh, there she is. She's back. Okay, we both have Cuba stories. Hmm.
You were speaking.
No, no, no. I thought you froze. I was gonna keep the Cuba energy up, but no, you could share what you were sharing.
Yes, and I was saying I walked
Wow, look at that. It's just not your night.
in. What's on?
Every time
Um,
you say, it's probably because of the word we're using.
Probably.
They like throttle them down, start shutting it down.
Okay, all right. Let's see. What could I use?
That really cool island with all of the beautiful architecture and the
Yes,
wonderful
beautiful,
beaches,
beautiful, beautiful melanin
awesome music,
people. All right.
super safe place to live, like
Yes.
zero crime. Yeah, that place.
Mhm. What do you call it? West of Jamaica. Uh,
Yeah, west of Jamaica.
West of Jamaica.
Hmm.
Um, yes. Listen, we literally were coming home, and this like how they have all these old Chevys in there, like
Hmm.
old
Yeah,
Chevy.
down in Old Havana.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And this woman, but I was in the campus, at this time. I was in Cienfuegos and no, rather Ciego de Avila. And
Hmm.
this woman is in the market talking to me. And then we eventually took a car home. But she was talking to me about how to use, I think it's habichuelas, which is like some beans or something. And she was explaining how to make porridge. And I'm like, I don't understand, but I understand. I literally was having downloads of what this woman was speaking, and she was speaking in Spanish with all these conjugations, and
Right.
I, you know, what do
Uh-huh.
I know, but
See, respect, and that's so deep because habichuelas gosadas. It's just red beans.
mhm.
That's all it is. So it's like if you listen long enough, you realize, man, that's red beans and rice. I've been eating that.
Right,
you
right.
know, it transcends in that way. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking. I used to eat that a lot. Habichuelas gasidas, red beans. It's just they call it bean stew. It's red beans and rice.
This is true. This is true. This is true. And it's funny because when I got back to the dorms, I started pulling out my dictionary and started looking at some of the words I remember, and I was like, oh wow, how did I? I'm literally getting visions as the woman is speaking, like little images of what this could be. that could be what she's probably saying, you know? So
Mm,
it's just when you say listening, and that idea of respect, meaning to listen as well too, astutely and intently, and not, you know, like not thinking about what it is you want to say or what you suppose this thing could be that she's saying or speaking about, or anyone speaking about. It really allows us to download beyond our own ability, like our own physical ability. It's kind of like when you tell us, you know, no, get up here and speak and be able to, you know, get in tune. You know, we've been
mm, mm.
so much all the time, but if we're in tune and we're listening and we're seeing source, then source will put words where they need to be placed and in our mouths. You know.
Oh yeah, because there's a respect from higher to lower. Like I heard earlier, you were talking about your heads, and the head, yes, controls and masters the body, and as a result, it cleans and purifies the body. The body that's mastered is clean, is purified. The woman that has a master and is mastered is cleaned and purified. And that, so the man masters you through your thoughts. He masters you through thought. And it's so interesting because going from higher to lower, sometimes, like, if for instance, if you get with a master, if you get with a man, you two were talking about mating earlier. If you have a man who doesn't respect his body, he won't respect you, because you've already now seen his relationship between higher and lower. You see, so the body is a sacred vessel for our journey, right? The woman is a sacred vessel for our journey. I've said many times, for men, if you want to travel the world, date a woman from another part of the world. You don't even have to go to that place, but she's going to make you feel like you're there if you truly connect. And if you really understand the science of a relationship, the real science, you'll know that connection is much better than attention. That's why in the devil's society, everything is about attention. Give me attention, give me attention. Attention doesn't last. Connection lasts forever. Some of us can remember adults who were kind to us as children that we only saw one time. Maybe we got lost, or we fell, or something like that, and somebody came over. We don't even remember their face. We just remember somebody picking us up or being kind or giving us a piece of candy or letting us come sit on their blanket or something like that. You see, they made a connection with us at a soul level. And when you're able to make connections at that level and really command the lower from the higher, but not just command, respect it, that's when you start to you heal a lot of disorders. For a lot of men listening, and you may have a woman you're dealing with, and she's got all kind of emotional frailties and emotional damage, and you can't seem to sort of get around it, or to get through it, or to figure it out. um you got to understand that most of the time when there's some kind of emotional damage, is because it's psychological damage, and psychological damage always exists inside of the subconscious. So there's never like, snap my fingers, hypnotize me, I'm good to go. There's gonna be some kind of abuse that's gonna be there. And abuse tends to stem from ignorance. So the same way, if you, as a man, if you haven't learned your body, if you haven't learned your lower self and respected it, back to respect, seeing it for what it is as a sacred vessel, then you're not going to be able to dive into the lower thought or the lower mind of the woman who you're supposed to be mastering over. Because remember, respect shoots out in all directions. Sometimes you see those alien movies, and like the alien will be there with their eyes closed, and they open their eye and light comes out their eyes, like in oh man, what was it? Not Cocoon. the movie with Cocoon with Steve Gutenberg, with the aliens and the, and they were made of pure light. I think I did a light breakdown on Cocoon one time. But that's what respect is. We think respect just come, oh, you better respect me, RESPECT. You better find out what it means to me. No, respect starts with what you send out, because respect is a light, it's a light wave of consciousness. To see something, you don't see anything, and what you see is light bouncing off of things. So you can't see anything if there's no light. You can't respect anything if there's no light. So your eyes are like flashlights shining on things, so that way you can see and you can regard and you can remove the mystical delusions that sometimes even people put up, because those delusions are obstacles to really making connections with the soul. you know I remember as a child, there was a young I don't know if she was young, I don't know, they was all adults, but there was a woman, Kitty, I remember her name. We used to go to this summer camp, because in the city it's hot in the summer. you know so my mother used to take us to this campground, and we would spend the summer there. And there was a woman, her and her daughter, she had two daughters, and maybe they were Latina. I remember this, like these big curly afros, it's big curly hair, I remember. But and I might have shared some of this before, but it's a memory from very young. And I mean young, like 6 years old, 5, 6 years old. We would go out every single night. That was our thing. And there was a big field at this campsite, and we would stare at the stars. And we would lay on our back, and we would stare at the stars, right? And Kitty, every night, she would roll up her shirt, and she would let me lie on her stomach like it was like a pillow. This was our nightly ritual, right? I don't even know this woman's still alive. I don't know. And the only reason I really remember her name, because I had a incident. Um, I had to go to the hospital. Something happened. Someone almost took my eye out, and she went to the hospital. And I remember her giving her name, and because it was such a traumatic event, I remembered the name. And then my father was like, "Well, who was there? What happened?" And I remember, Kitty. you know, because as I got older, I realized that the ritual wasn't just looking at the sky, the stars. The ritual was come out in the field with the children, look at the stars while we smoke this joint. That was actually what as I got older, I was like, oh, that's what they was passing back and forth. They'd have their bottle of wine, and they'd be passing, the chiba back and forth, you know. So again, but we made a connection, and Kitty I don't know if she's Caucasian, Latina, what, I don't know. I don't really care. She had this soft stomach, and she would let me lay on it. You see? So when you make a true connection of respect, it transcends the obstacles of delusion that the world would try to put in front. See, that's the key. When you can get past those obstacles, that's when you start to remove anger and hatred and frustration and all of those different things, because those are disguises that the ego puts on. I'm going to put on the disguise of anger. And that's to keep you from connecting. But when you have joy, when you have love, and you remove the sort of sick pleasures that come from sadomasochism and mutual aggression. I'm going to snarl at you. I'm going to snarl. All of that's illusion. It's all illusion. You see, when you get right down to it, and you have that respect, there becomes a deeper sort of connection to the immortal spirit that many of us have inside of us, and then we start to be able to share a sense of peace and individual responsibility with each other, and there's a sisterhood that forms as a result. There's a brotherhood that forms as a result, because now we're just looking at some basic tenets of humanity. You see, So now your self-respect that you have for yourself, which was your higher self loving your lower self, it becomes universal in an instant. And you wasn't even planning for that to happen. You wasn't even thinking about that. You was just saying, yeah, man, I gotta treat myself a little better. I gotta, and but that's the way the math works. you know. And once you develop that universal respect, see, that universal respect is a key. It opens up doors. And the door that it opens up is the door to peace. You see, that's why you can go to Cuba, not speak the language or barely speak the language, and be at peace. You could be surrounded by people who don't even speak the language, but you feel safe because you got the key in your hand. The key to open up the door to peace is respect, genuine respect. You know.
You know, that really explains something that I was a little curious about. I have a 2-year-old granddaughter, and you know, people are always putting these shows on for her because she's very quiet and she didn't want to talk. And when you talk to her, she'll look at you and let you know she's paying attention, but that's pretty much it until she wants to express herself.
Mm-hmm.
So I noticed that when I started spending more time with this little girl, that she would look at me sometimes because I would sing along songs and stuff with her. And she'd just start gibbering, like, and I would look at her and I go, really? Just really pay attention as though I was, understanding. I'm like, okay, well, what are you saying? But I would respond to her and talk to her. So what that led to was now she stopped gibbering and she started using words clearly like yes, no, like do you want this? No, and it when you talk about that universal connection, it even got to a point where she was famous for throwing these little fits. And I mean she would throw herself down and slap the floor. And I would just look at her and let her do it. And when she stopped and look at me, all of a sudden she'd get up and come over and hug me,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm sorry,
Right.
type of feeling. So, and it all started with the fact that, she would do that gibbering to other people and they say, come on, use your words, use your word. She didn't want to use right. I just respected how she was choosing to communicate with me at that time. And I
Right.
didn't understand it, but as I listened to you, it helped me see, just how deep that universal connection goes.
Mm-hmm. Your granddaughter is an atomic ray.
Wow.
Sometimes we forget that part, because they look like little flesh pouches, but she's an atomic ray. The word was made flesh and came and dwelt among us. So sometimes we forget that we are the manifested word of the Most High, breathed into us. An atomic ray of light, a beam of spiritual sun. We all are. You see, so you know when you listen in, that little girl is already listening in. She ain't got no choice because she's figuring out. I mean, heck, she ain't even got all her cartilage yet. Her doggone fingers ain't even connected to her wrist. So she like, well, shoot, this is still coming together. So, so let me pay attention and listen for a little while and feel this thing out and see where it's going. I don't need to be up in here screaming and stuff like that. And if it's a fit that I'm throwing, it's only because I'm not able to move the way, that's when she's showing that disrespect for her lower vessel. Frustrated. What you frustrated for? Because you can't do something? Because you can't, yeah, respect the lower vessel. That's just what has to happen. You're now moving inside of a you're moving inside of an unknown light. You see, when we can go all the way back to the beginning of all things, we'll find an immaculate womb, and we'll find a mother who emerges from that unknown darkness. You see, and then from that unknown darkness, that mother springs forth an immaculate word, or son. We like to call it the son, you know. And then that son then turns to the father, you see. So, but it's all about the word that has to be listened to. That's all of what's being manifested. And you know, as we develop and grow as young babies and infants, we start to realize that there's an army of voices. There's an army of words out here, you know, and we start to figure out a way to differentiate our own. And the more we have people around us who will listen, you know, it's like how we respond to a person. You know, sometimes you might be working a gig. Um, you know, a lot of jobs that I worked, I would always make sure when someone came into my office or knocked on my door, I wouldn't respond the same way. You know, most of the time you work and you pick up your head, you say, yes, can I help you? That's so disrespectful. You're not even listening. You see, that's the type of responses that lead people to suicide. It's depressing. Nobody's listening because there's a word there's a ray that's being shot out from them. There's a word that's being shot out from them as soon as they get in that doorway. You see, people say a lot of times, Chief, how you know? So how do you figure this out? When did you learn this about me? When you signed up for a consultation. What? Yeah. But we didn't even speak on the phone yet. We didn't have to speak on the phone yet. You know how far atomic rays go? You just got to listen. It's there. You know, so by the time we got on the phone, I already had the conversation with you. I'm just, you know, taking you through the motions at this point, you know. So that's the thing. It's just like with the baby when she's throwing her fit and you just or you're looking and saying she's talking and it seems as though it's gibberish, but you're like, what you saying? See, that's the respect. That's the respect. Because gibberish, it all means something different because she's also coming into that understanding that she's alive and she's conscious and there's an apparent restriction of her consciousness that's getting deeper and deeper and deeper every day that she goes because her higher form feels like it's slipping away, it's disappearing into the clouds. And the more her higher form disappears into the clouds, the more all of the family around her declares and praises her for becoming more human. Oh, look what she's doing now. She's talking that. What's she talking? English? Big effing deal. 20 years from now, she's going to wish she talked something else. You know, and she was when she first came, but nobody wanted to listen. You know, what's more pleasant than a baby's gibberish? Than than all them little noises they make. What's more pleasant than that? No, wait till she learns no. You see? No. Leave me alone. That's another phrase they like to learn. Leave me alone. You know. So it's a coming back into consciousness that has to be respected. My son tried to do that a little bit when he was really young. And sometimes but he wouldn't do it when I was in the room. He used to do the thing where you pick him up, he tries to fall out onto the floor. And I used to just drop him. He did that with me, I think twice. He bust his head on the floor. Yep. Now you're gonna be thinking different for the rest of your life. You see? I'm not gonna be sitting here playing this game with you. And then when he would do it to like his mother and his aunties and I come in the room, he would like start smiling, like he'd stop and then he'd smile at me and he would grab his penis. He used to do this every single time. You know, he'd smile and grab his penis like, hey, boy, like everything's all right. I know, yeah. And I don't know what the penis thing is, but I don't know if he was trying to like get his strength up or, you know, this is where I feel strong, you know, but he do it every time. You know, he reach down there and start and look at me like, hey, just playing, you know. But it's because I knew, hey man, you smarter than that. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. That's some Jezebel action. And I know you know what you're doing, and now you know I know. So knock it off. You know, that this isn't that spot. You should have came out of a different coochie. This isn't the place we do that. You know, so that all of that is respect and tapping into that universal conscious energy, and you're feeling your granddaughter's impulse, which is the important thing. You're feeling her impulse beyond her words, and that light and that life that she's sending out, it's a ray, and it overshadows intelligence. Never forget that. It overshadows intelligence. It goes all the way up to archangels. That's how powerful that vision and that beam of respect is. That word, when it comes through, it overshadows intellect. That's why you could be talking to someone in another language. You don't know if they're the town idiot. But if they're respectful and you're respectful, you be able everything's all right because it overshadows all of that other stuff. You see?
Yeah, as you speak about, I don't want to, you speak about light, and I know there are so many references to beings and the many eyes on their body, right? So, just as you're speaking about that, I kept thinking about just the idea of that light again, and source, and being able to see the source and move um, in the presence of source even. So yeah, I just thought about that. And I want, as like we're building and so on, you mentioned something earlier, and that thought like came forward. Just the idea of the many eyes all over the body. And then,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, because I wondered, is that why too, when they're in the presence of anyone, the people who have said, okay, like I've been in the presence, an angel came forward, and it's just like this presence of light. So they're pouring out light, but they're in a space where they're constantly receiving that light because of all these eyes all over them. So again, it makes me think of sleep.
If the eyes are open,
True.
it might not be open. You might only be using the raggedy ones. You
Yeah.
see? The raggedy ones only work for about 40 years. And we be thinking we doing something. You see, glasses, because they don't even really kick into you about 7, 8 years old. Then they start kicking out when you're about 45, 50. It's like, man, I only had about 40-year run where I could see stuff.
Yeah.
So, but those are the ones that we look at and think that we're doing something and not realizing, no, man, we have different bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And these bodies are like sheaths, like the sheath you would put a knife in. These bodies are sheaths over our natural, our divine spark. You see? So as you're opening up your eyes, or, as it's spoken about in the Kama Sutra, there's the 7 sheaths that cover the true self. Well, in Revelations is the 7 seals. You see? So when those things are open, yeah, now I'm okay. Now my eyes are open. I could see what's what. We spend so much time, I don't even use mirrors like that, man. Always been like that. When I had this sister Rose. Should have married Rose. But there was this sister I went to high school with, Rose, and she used to every day before first period, she would groom me. Because I used to never put on lotion. I didn't understand. I didn't see the point, you know. And she'd always be like, "Your hands are always so ashy." So what? That's just hands, you know. So every day she'd stand at my locker and she would be there with lotion, and she'd be rubbing lotion on my hands, and like if it was like lint on my face or something like that, or my hair, you know what I mean, like She would. This was a everyday thing. And days when she'd be sick from school, I'd be annoyed. Where was you? Oh, I had a cold. What you mean you had a cold? you know, I started getting used to it. You know, she was one of those sisters that was naturally submissive and wanted to serve. But at that age, I didn't understand it. You know, I was running around in the projects too much with them sisters. Rose was nice though. But the thing about it is that when you start to understand that science, the science was I never really looked at myself because I knew that was never anything to look at. So she would look at me for me, right? So when I would get up and get ready to go to school, what I looked at was how I felt. Man, it's cold out. I don't feel like going to freaking school. Oh, I didn't do my homework again. Ugh. How do I feel? you know, how do I look is nothing because that's not what I am. I was always a very fashionable person. So yeah, I'm gonna have on expensive clothes and jewelry and stuff like that. No lotion, but I'm gonna have all everything else is gonna cover all that up. But I knew that wasn't really me because I could be dressed to the nines and be depressed, or be feeling lonely that day. Or I was hurt. Somebody said something that hurt me, or I chose hurt, right? And it's still lingering with me. But I'm leather jackets and expensive sneakers. I'm done up, right? So as we grow older, if we can maintain that science of, I mean, to this day, I'm not really a mirror person because what am I looking at? I seen that guy yesterday. What's the difference between today and yesterday as far as physicality? I already know what's happening. His eyes are sinking in more. The bags are getting big under his eyes. His teeth are shifting all over the doggone place, and he got, his beard is getting nappier. All right, I know where this is going. you know, but looking at the soul, see, that's the mirror. We be looking at the wrong mirror. What is the soul reflecting into us? That's the important thing, you see. But we're so fixated a lot of times on how we're physically presenting. So our eyes are never really opening because we're relying on these cheap eyes to look at the cheap part of who we are. The vessel, but the lowest part of the vessel. You see, sometimes we don't even look at a mirror of our emotions before we leave the house because your emotions are a vessel. How do you think spirit travels? It travels through your emotions. We don't even see if those vehicles are running right. Okay, if I encounter the spirit of joy today, can I do something with it? You see, if I encounter the spirit of healing, how's my healing truck? How's my joy car? Instead of all those things, we look, oh man, I look knock knees in these pants. I ain't wearing these. These is hot waters. I ain't wearing these. We looking with the wrong eyes at the wrong thing. Maria has told me several times about running the iron over my shirts. Mm-hmm. Here you go. You iron it. Bring an iron to the retreat. They know. Here you go. you want to talk? You got something to say? All right, here you go. So yeah, that's an important thing when you talk about the eyes all around the body. What are we looking with?
True. True. And you we're laughing at Joy Car and I think it's funny though, Joy Car. I like it because I'm a vessel. So it's like here, let me park my Joy Car here and here, some for you, some for you, some for you too. Um, but yeah, it does make us responsible. Now we're responsible for what we bring into a space. We're responsible for what we bring into a space. But you're right. If we're not thinking about what is that emotion that I have today, then we're not being responsible about what we bring into a space. And also understanding, okay, if this is my human journey and I am divine, then actually I'm supposed to see the source everywhere I go, in others too, and respect that enough to be able to share, be that joy car, and say, yeah, here, and not choose to offense or not choose, because sometimes, what we experience from another person, we say, okay, I'm offended or it's offense. Well, maybe the person's giving off something that is a message to you to respond in a different way because they have a need that they probably don't know how to identify or clearly say, you know? It's kind of like that person opening up the door, like you said, and somebody just looking up and saying, how can I help you?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes we don't realize how dense some parts of us are. The more dense your area, we ignore it. But the more dense certain things are, the more active it should be in your spiritual activity. You see, it's like, look at your body. If you are someone like, I don't have big calves, but I have big quads. My quads are really big, but my calves are never been that big. I'm not made for mountain climbing. That's I wasn't designed for that, right? I'm designed for lifting up heavy junk that nobody else want to lift up. That's what I'm designed for, you know. So if a lot of energy and matter was poured into those parts to make me dense, then that's where the service is supposed to come from in a more robust way. But the parts that are uh more I don't want to use the word fragile, but more subtle, those are the areas where you should be expressing spirit in a more nuanced way. So like, someone had spoke about my hands earlier today. Actually, someone made a comment about how I have, like, I forget, I had to read it, but, like, let's say delicate hands, delicate looking hands. Yeah, because I'm supposed to handle things delicately. That's my gift. I'm not supposed to handle things roughly. I don't have those type of hands, but my hands are very strong. So I can approach the strongest beast in a person and still be gentle, still hold them still, but not hurt them while I'm holding them. You see? So spirit is telling you that because you look at certain things, but then there's other parts of me that may be more robust. I got a big round head. So spirit is saying, don't laugh. Don't like, hold it together. Hmm. You see? You see, that's why I don't get on camera. You see? So so that tells you something. You look at those things, okay, you're supposed to be using that brain in a very robust way. You see? So that's the thing that you want to look at when you got to move beyond the atoms and the subatomic particles of the physical world and start to see why they arranged themselves in the way that they did. Why your body, your gross form is modeled in the way that it is for what it is that you're maybe supposed to be doing. you know
Hmm. So this nose is made for taking in a whole lot of air. A whole
of
lot.
course. Yeah, you can look it up. I mean, I could give y'all a breakdown. I ain't gonna do it on air because but I've already broken both of y'all down, top to bottom, from
and,
rooter to tutor.
and I'm laughing because I was just talking to someone about how I used to think Diana Ross had the most beautiful smile until
Mm.
someone uh, insulted me by saying, "With that big old ugly Diana Ross smile you got." And then I realized, I said, "Oh, it's something wrong with me." I was just sharing that with one of the sisters. I didn't know, it was anything wrong with my smile until somebody insulted me, telling me, that big old ugly Diana Ross smile you got. And my mother used to mock me. She used to try to stretch her mouth from ear to ear, you
Hmm.
know, when she was like, "Why are you smiling like that?" And I'll be like, so for a long time, I walked around covering my mouth when I laughed. You know what I
Me,
mean?
me too.
So,
Me too. I got beatings behind that. 3 years in a row. 3 years in a row. School pictures. I'm sitting there with my mouth closed. And I remember the last one, it was third grade. I actually still have this picture. To this day, I have this picture. I scanned it in. And I came home. My father went off. My father was a photographer. And he went, he said, I'm so sick of this. Da, 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 da. You got a beautiful smile. You have a pretty, and then he had to use the word pretty. Like, man, ain't nah. But meanwhile, my brothers and they used to make, I talk, they would like when my uncles would my younger brother used to do this. They used to play dominoes. So whenever they would yell dominoes, he said, that's your teeth on the table. They said my teeth were so big like dominoes. So they be like, dominoes. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. See, that's why exactly. That's why I don't smile that much. You see? Because this is how y'all treat me. I got big and everything, but the teeth, so but again, what's always important to realize, and I've said this so many times, where your gift is where your first attack will be. That's what always I used to get made fun of my teeth, and I used to get made fun of my voice. They used to call me Froggy, But with big teeth, it helps you to digest a lot. You could put any book in front of me. You put any art or science in front of me within 3 hours, I can figure it out. Anything, because I got big teeth that can chomp through anything, and yeah, when I speak, people listen because my voice sounds different than most other people, right? But these are the things that I was ashamed about. So just like you, I would cover my mouth all the time. I would bite down on when I would laugh, I would bite down on my smile. My lips, I would always turn my lips inside out because they used to call me bubble lips. My lips were big. And then my voice, I just wouldn't talk because I didn't want anybody making fun of me, right? But those were all attacks. Those were all delusional. See, I said it's delusion to the soul. It's a blockage. You ain't gonna get to your soul. We're gonna put all the roadblocks up now. If I didn't speak the way I speak and have maybe even like you, Safta, have the ability to, on some level, to disarm people with a smile. Because when I smile, I still look like a 5-year-old because my teeth are still domino chips, right? At this age, they turn in the color of domino chips. But, if I didn't have that, without that, I kind of look like kind of a rough character, until I speak or smile. So that has opened up doors that has allowed me to serve that I would have never been able to get through. You see? So those were necessary things that spirit gave me in order to fulfill my purpose. But the world sought to create obstacles around the usage of those gifts so that I could be what the creator wanted me to be. You see? And the first obstacle that was utilized was disrespect.
Mm.
You see?
You speak you touch on points and drive home the point about like not necessarily tuning out the Jezebel, but understanding how the Jezebel will tell you can't do this thing, or you're not good enough, or you're that thing, when you're not, and being able to be conscious and aware of that, because it's almost like it's to minimize. It's an attack. That's how I'm seeing it when in the podcast, when you speak about being able to address that part of self, and understanding that, yeah, you even probably attack yourself, because in your own mind you'll be saying, this is not good enough, or you decide, okay, you can. I can't remember the exact artistic examples you gave, but let's say you're great at pan, or you're great at the harp or the lyre or whatever. But those are the things that you will get attacked on. You want to play another instrument, and those aren't the examples you give, but those are examples that are coming to me when you speak about the way those attacks came. For you, and like I could share some of mine too, but
Yeah, you
they
got some big teeth too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
you got that. You have to get it. Come on.
Cheese boxes. That's what they used to call them.
See?
The cheese box. Yeah. I don't know. Cheese
I know
box.
that life. Yeah, I know that life well.
Mm, wrong. It's so wrong.
But that's the thing, as beings that are we're evolving into larger stages, and as light is being focused through us, if we're truly evolving and the self-existent creator is inside of us, it's going to evolve and spread itself out so that the fire that's inside of us and the self-consciousness that's inside of us and the form that's inside of us and all of the fruit that's gathered within us, the fruit of the garden, it's going to mirror the heavens, you see. So the more we unfold, or that process of unfolding that's happening even as children, there's a rebirthing and a reincarnation that's happening, and our spiritual self is coming forth. Our fleshly covering is going to speak exactly to that, and it may look so much different than what everybody else or everyone else looks around us, because, well, you ain't evolving like me.
Mm.
You didn't come with that. So yeah, look up at the sky. Does it look like it's in any kind of intelligible formation you could figure out? No. You see, but you could figure out simple things. So you want something to look simple. But I'm complex. You see, so when you come to that understanding that, listen, all of my organs in action, all of my sensations, my mental, my thoughts, my astral body, my physical body, it's all the product of an emerging self-existent creator forming something so uniquely special, and is trying to show you what the heavens can look like on earth. We don't even know why we like Saf to smile. We don't know. We just know when she smiles, we just like it. You see, that's a piece of heaven that's being showed to us. You see, and people don't understand that. That's heaven right there, because there's a renewal that happens for certain people. There's an evolutionary journey where we're being carried from one primitive state to a fully enlightened state, and then beyond that. So along the way, there's going to be certain special masks, that are going to be produced to cover the specialness of that inner self. You see, I often used to say, if I looked like the way I feel inside or felt inside as a child, Lord, 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 I wouldn't have made it. Not in some of the neighborhoods I lived in. I would not have made it. You know, yeah, I was able to go through certain blocks, and yeah, there was times I had to put up my hands and stuff to get back home and all that. But I was getting back home to go write poetry and listen to Larry Graham records and, freaking eat yogurt. Who knew that was inside? you know, but the mask that was created, or the persona as we call it, that's why we got to respect that too. That has to be respected. Sometimes we have trouble with that. We see someone who's had to take on a certain mask, a certain persona to cover up their specialness, and we get upset at the mask. But that's a part of the vessel. You see, that's a part of the vessel. I've heard some people say, "Oh man, Chief, the way you talk sometimes it sounds aggressive." Yeah, well, you don't know what I'm protecting inside. I'm protecting a little boy who still likes to smell flowers and sit cross-legged all day. you know, so there's a thing that's happening there, and we all have that. I'm saying it for myself, but we all have it, especially those who are here, that our evolutionary goal is to become more than human, and we're realizing the divine. And someone trying to hold a judgment over a sacred personality, like we all supposed to have this stock experience, and the reality is this is a cosmic experience that's so full of thoughts and aspirations that we're not looking to assimilate into an experience or a look, you know or even over or even the passions and desires of everyone else. A lot of us who came into this knowledge and understanding, we couldn't get ourselves excited about what other people get excited about. Sometimes be out people, hey, you watching the game tonight? No. What game?
True.
What you talking about? Yeah, well, it's the playoffs. So didn't they have that last year? How many times you gonna play it off? You know what I mean? There's more important things to do, man. I'd rather just go home and drink some water or something, man, and see how that feels. You see, I'm just not excited about what you're excited about, and there's no knock on that, but some of us are moving beyond this speck of mud. We come through as a speck of mud, speck of earth, and some never move beyond that idea, but some are looking to progress and develop and change their state, and change their state in a way where they can be compared to stars, and more importantly, indestructible stars. So that there has to be a digging down beneath the earth, beyond what we call our salvation even, and see the deeper personalities that exist, beyond the top personalities. So yeah, if people make fun of whatever they want, man, people foolish. They don't even realize, man, that the formation of anything that you want to be permanent is never going to reincarnate anything beautiful. You see, it's always us. We have to reunite ourselves with the infinite. And when you reunite with the infinite, you become so individualized. Even though you're connecting with everything, of course you become magnetic even. It's like water. Water pulls everything to it. So people gonna come and say stupid stuff all day. You know. Here come another grandma. Yeah, I can mute out. Now, yeah, y'all good now. We got the three queens. I'm gonna mute out.
Why are you never mute?
Oh my gosh, I didn't mean to interrupt like that. Hey, peace, everybody.
Peace.
Yo, Shabbat Shalom. No, I think a memory was triggered. Like, I remember being somewhere around like 7 to 8 years old, and my cousin, like, I was the favorite of my great grandmother. Like, I was just mother's favorite, and my cousins and stuff didn't like that I was the favorite. But she used to always, when she would come around, she would see me happy and, just having a good time and all that kind of stuff. And she would always call me gay. And it would always make me cry. Because I would just be like, I'm not gay. I'm not gay. But I didn't know that gay meant happy too. So
that's my middle name.
It's my cousin's first name, one of my cousin's first name. But it was just so devastating to me. And like, that's when I started like lashing out at her, being really, really mean. Like, I am not gay. So like, I don't know. I was just thinking about a whole bunch of stuff. Because even this dawning when we were talking, Akoti Yamina's question to us. And I think she asked me like why my favorite color was what it was. And how did it make me feel? And I started listing all the different things that it made me feel. And it's like, well, I just be out, feeling good, feeling great, spreading my sunshine because I got my, favorite color on somewhere. You don't have to see it, but I know it's there. And, that's just how it makes me feel on the outside. But that's all.
But thank you for telling us, because you just told us. Oh my goodness. Thank you for coming on and sharing. So many people get confused about that word gay, absolutely confused. They don't know. They really don't know. But I wanted to say, Chief, thank you for sharing, and coming on and building in this way, because it's yanking us, it's pulling us to a place where we're, as you say, moving and evolving away from the speck of mud that like we came here to be, like, the earth people that we are, right? um and it's just an inspiration. That's the most I could say. I don't have anything deep. I don't have anything long. Pastor Naya, I wish you didn't leave. weren't finished with you. But I
Well,
wanted to just before I forgot to say I grateful for your share, and it's touched me um in a different space, and it's really inspirational because we forget and we begin to we take on the muck and the mud and the mire, and that's like it's almost equivalent to when you say, like, don't harbor this idea of shame and all of that, because of how it really just anchors us. And yeah, I just wanted to say that it was
and I'm truly grateful, as this is an example of that source that we've been talking about this evening, and wanting others to be able to see the source, because when you're connected to a source, or you have, as we do, a chief jetna that pours into us so much light. It not it's just takes, I can speak for myself, it takes me to a place that I can't get, by going through another woman, or, a sister or a mother, or, of any type. And there's so many women who run their households. And I mean, I was I can't really say a single mother raising a son, but he wasn't my son's father. And there wasn't a lot of interest there. But I took on this thing about, I'm going to raise a good son. And there was no way, by the grace and the blessings of the Most High, he is a part of a new, and surrounded by men who can actually mentor him and help him, which allows, me to be able to be very comfortable having him as my covering, and being in a community of righteous men that are the source. And and Chief said something about respect that made me realize something. By being able to respect people outside of our community and people we don't know, people in passing, it makes that respect all the more precious, that we can give within the community and to those that we do know are pouring into us. And I've, for anyone watching this who have never experienced being truly covered, that is something I would really, I would wish every woman had that. And because I have lived a lifetime without it, and at this point in my life to have that and to be connected, it I know now that my latter years are going to be greater than, the people think, when they're young and partying and doing all that, but it also leaves a hole for ignorance, and but coming into a time when you have someone pouring into you and teaching you these things, and even wondering, as I mentioned earlier, I was wondering about why my granddaughter has this special connection with me, and not even recognizing that I was respecting her as a little person. you know um, it gives me a different outlook of how to treat children, period. All children. So it is so important to be connected and to see the source and to know what that source is. So if you walk away from anything through this bill, you know, seek and learn to see the source.
Imanaya is back in the space. All right, all right, all right. I wanted to just pause again, and Chief is on mute still. It's like really gone. I wanted to just
Just a
pause
little going.
just a little gone. You're not ready to end. All right. But I know that's coming soon. I know you're gonna unmute and say, all right now. Wrap it up. But Imanaya, just when we're young, and we have the adults who are around us tell us things, it leaves an impression. It literally it begins to form even the boundaries of what we see ourselves as, like, and it's so important to pay attention as adults, to pay attention to how we engage with youth and what we share with them and how we share it with them and what we accept from them. Like, no, you're not gonna throw a tantrum. uh you might bump your head if you throw a tantrum next time, or you will not receive any light, any attention, or any acknowledgement until you fly right. you know None whatsoever. So you could be in the corner there for an hour and I won't even see you. you know but also, when you're joyful and you have creative flair and you have whatever it is that you have, it's important as adults to be able to acknowledge it with youth and not acknowledge it where you put them in a box and that becomes like all they could see themselves as. um and I guess I'm speaking, not I guess I'm speaking to your point, to your story that you shared about you know the comment being made about you being gay and you feeling a certain way. And I think it's go ahead. Go ahead. You are.
Now I was just gonna say it caused me to be mean because I told her she was mad because she wasn't pretty and she had crooked teeth.
Mm-hmm. Right. But guess what? You know, the ego lives off of offense. Like, you received offense. That was what you received out of ignorance too, because you didn't even know what the word meant. So you received something that was a compliment as something else. And I think that's applicable to us as even adults. Like at today, in this moment. No matter how old we are, those whose eyes are weakening, as I said, like, we too get offended because of things that we don't know about. We may receive something that was said and we assume, okay, this is the meaning, but you don't know if there's so many different cultural references, is what I'm saying. um and then you make that become, you know how you perceive another person, how you perceive yourself, just how you perceive your exchange with them, and that becomes the trigger every time you engage with them. That becomes, it rehashes feelings, and you know, then that's borderline Jezebel behavior. But you know, yeah, I'm grateful for this evening's build, and again, the architect, the our Elohim, there's this plan and blueprint and outline of what fellowship should be, and we don't even see it. We in the background pulling strings and being puppeteers and putting our thoughts together and notes together in many ways that we think is fit and right, and then the build and our fellowship unravels in this way. And I want to pause and acknowledge it, because there
While
is.
while
Oh,
you're
sorry.
acknowledging the chat, I wanted to ask a quick question that maybe you can ruminate on while you're checking the chat too. So when you're um maybe I don't know the word, scouting out a prospective man, what are some of the ways that you may look for him to respect himself to show that he would be able to respect you? Like, as a woman, what are some of the things you look for?
Yeah. He is not intimidated at all. And, you know, saying some of these things will almost assume that I'm speaking about a woman who is not in her rightful place, right? But being able to be sure and certain and not be swayed or manipulated necessarily by what a woman thinks is right or appropriate in the moment. Um, Yeah, and being able to shut down nonsense when it shows up, and it shouldn't, but being to do so confident and not bothered or worried about whether this then she'll probably go back, probably um, be and
I look at how he approaches me, how I'm greeted. And there's times when I've had a man to greet me first, and I always pay attention to how he approaches me and how he greets me. And I've also approached a man like I don't know, I was in Best Buy or something, and I had to ask a store, one of the clerks, a question. And I walked up behind him and I said, "Excuse me." And when he turned around, he smiled. He said, "Well, hello there. What can I help you? What can I help you find
Oh,
anything?"
you're smooth.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
And I thought to myself, I thought that's a nice greeting, but it's also rem- remembering to stay in my place. And I've never been real forward or flirtatious um, that way, but I have responded before anew differently, you know. Back before I realized my place, I've had someone, "Hey, what's up, Mama? How you doing?" And coming across way too friendly, like you know me, and even to the point of invading my space. So at this point, I'm always watching the way I'm being approached, or I'm being greeted, or responded to. Um, Master Midnight said Barry White is is his theme music. Hey, I like Barry White. Chief sound like Barry White.
I thought I had more of an Isaac Hayes thing going, but all right, I'll take Barry too.
hmm.
Yeah, that too.
And I
I'm no, I'm
yeah,
listening to these answers. I'm listening.
yeah, and I would say yeah, I'm not like paying attention to that now at this stage in my journey, So I'm saying this is what would be, uh, you know, um, appropriate, But I also think too, like paying attention to um, not necessarily approaching a person or being paying attention to how a man approaches, right? And I think maybe some very similar to what you were saying, Safta.
Yeah, but
Um,
let's not hold on a second. That was a good answer that Softa gave us, but it was the wrong answer to the question. So now you see how what happens when the water goes in one direction. See how all the fish go the same direction the water going. You see the power of the Softa is undeniable. You see, the question was how a man respects himself. What clue does that? What do you look for in a man's self-respect to give you clues as to how he will respect you?
right.
Okay, so to come correct.
But it was a good answer you gave, so I didn't want to joke. I was like, "Well, this works too." But,
Yeah, to come correct, I noticed the way he dresses. I mean, even if he's in gym clothes, are they clean? Does he, and also his teeth, how he takes care of his mouth. So basically, I think you have mentioned it. I notice how a man takes care of his body. Are you 400 pounds overweight with wearing a pair of pants that's two sizes too small, or they're hanging below, where I can see what color your underwear are.
at
So,
400 pounds, you really don't have much of a choice.
no, yeah,
Everything's gonna be too small and barely getting over your waist.
but even that in itself tells me he does not take care of himself. Um, so I can tell a man respects himself by the way he takes care of himself, and how he dresses, before he even opens his mouth.
I think that counts too. I would say similar how he takes care of himself, if he takes care of himself, um, and how he speaks. Like, does he speak with confidence? Does he speak with terrible English? Does he speak using words like he heard somebody use this word, but he doesn't really know how to use the word, but he wants to use the word so he can sound smart because he thought the person that said it sounded smart. um, but yeah, definitely how they maintain themselves and take care of themselves.
So I was going to say, in terms of how the man respects the varying woman, like being able to distinguish and understand a woman who is covered and how she is, and not necessarily approaching that woman or saying anything to her. And I say that because I remember um we were at a festival, chaperoned, of course, and what happened? There were some Muslim brothers around, and you know that Muslim women are not responding or looking to anybody else or any other man. Like, they're going on their merry way. They're not responding to any man or even acknowledging any other man, especially, like, they're mated, they're moving, and they respect themselves. But I noticed that there were some some of the men were just like calling women and things like that, and approaching even women who appeared to be covered and living and moving separated and different. And so that's why I brought up the point about how they approach, or how they are able to respect the woman that they see around, based on understanding who's mated and who's not. And I understand if you're living a different culture, you wouldn't know, but people do know. It is just this interesting dynamic that happens when you are outside, and you're living separated. You adorn yourself in a different way. People are able to understand that, and they show respect toward that. So that's something that I was trying to introduce.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. So one more question for the room, if y'all don't mind. So let's say if a person you are maybe you're already interacting with them on some level, or he's a brother in your community, and you're noticing that maybe there's a lack of self-respect based on him not necessarily abiding by his word. Like I saw Marjorie Marie put in the chat, a man who keeps his word, right? So let's say we're all in the community. We're all in our new. One example in our new is that we don't take narcotics, right? That's something we don't do. But let's say if you have a brother in the community and he's using narcotics, or let's say for instance he is not industrious, he's lazy, or he's mentally lazy. Like, I know Chief said we're supposed to have our own businesses, and it's, but I don't know, that's too much reading or too much this. I ain't, but I got a good thing going over here at the gas station working here, right? Whatever the situation. So how would you as a woman approach maybe speaking to the brother? Let's say, like, even the brother approach, you say, hey, Safta Hava, hey, Safta Naya, Koti Maria, I want to court you. And you say, get your eyes back on the screen, Maria. Come back over. All right. So, and you say, well, I'm going to turn that down, but I would like to tell my brother why, without feeling like I'm overstepping my bounds as a woman and maybe correcting him. How would you share that culture and share that civilization as the mothers of civilization? how would you find opportunity in that moment to maybe let the brother know he's not behaving in a civilized manner, or like Marjorie Marie said, not being a man of your word, without losing your place as a woman?
I'm going to answer that because I feel, well, I don't feel, I know I have evolved from a place where I was asking myself that same question, and I didn't have a lot of the understanding I have now. But I would simply, as I said at this time, I'm going to decline because in the culture that I live, there are certain things that are required of both men and women. And I would prefer to be mated with someone who is living that culture. And I don't feel it's my responsibility to teach or, to even point those things out, because if he is asking to court me, I would believe he would look into that for himself. And I would tell him, I belong to a new community, and this is the new way, and these are some of the standards and the requirements that I'm expected to maintain, as well as the one that I'm mated with. So this way he can have an option to go and find out for himself, or connect with other brothers who are living that culture. Um, I could point out that there is a code of conduct, and there are required qualities
Hmm.
that are in existence. So I have a group and the men have a group, and I would prefer to stay in line with those requirements.
And you think he gonna sit there and listen to all that? He would have jumped in by now. Hold on, sister. Hold on. Hear me out. He would have said something smooth.
So let me just direct you to another new brother.
Uh-huh.
Direct them to the chief.
Right. But see, that's also the beauty of the Anu Covering initiative, though, because technically he wouldn't even be having that conversation with you.
That's true.
He'd be having it with his brother, you
That's
know.
true. Yes.
But still, for the sake of the example, I still want y'all to, even though I know it's a little off because the brother wouldn't be speaking to you directly, but you know, I still would like to know y'all perspective on it.
I I guess similar to what Stop the Ahava said, like we have things in place. If we're in the same community, you know what we're supposed to be doing. So if you're not doing it, why are you pursuing me? Because it's written in the Anu way what we're supposed to do, like the whole courting process. It's like right there and it tells you. And although it may be a guide, it's not just a suggestion, well, you might want to try this. No, it's what we do. It's what we live by, and it's what we follow. So that's what we got to do.
Yeah, this is a yeah, tricky,
Right.
right? Because if we're talking about a brother who is in Anu, then there are levels of conversation around expectations, required qualities, and um, building economy that would have happened already within the men's group, one-on-one conversations that happen with brothers. So truth sessions that we have as well too. So those are things that I may see because the Anue and Chief has taught the woman to listen with our eyes. So if we don't see those things aligning, it may not be my place to even need to say anything because that may have been brought to him already. But if there are things that I observe that are not in alignment with Anu, it is something I would share with my covering, because that would be the appropriate place. So if he does approach, I would say I would discuss further with my covering.
Okay, so this part B of that last one. All right. So in the Anu way, when we speak about required qualities, and I'll read a little bit of that section. Without first principles witnessed by the entire community, Anu men and Anu women are unqualified to be considered adults. Only adult marriages are recognized in Anu. These are the basal qualities that Anu should strive for. Man, studious, industrious, strong, directed, knowledgeable, self managed, has control of his emotions, honorable, respectful, independent, mature, noble, non possessive, filled with the spirit of the highest God, guiding, creative, multi skilled, vocal, courageous, responsible, active, loving, assertive, globally astute, debt free, peaceful, and unafraid. So, in looking at those required qualities for men to be considered adults, if I were to, so let's say I'll use myself as the example. Let's say if I wanted to court a sister in my community, and let's say I lack um, nobility, I don't move as a noble and honorable person, or I'm not industrious, or let's say I'm not studious, I don't like to study, you know, or I'm not globally astute. I don't really know what's going on in the world and where I fit into it or anything like that, right? Let's say if I have those issues and I want to court a woman, and even though let's say that this woman is beyond childbirth years, even we'll even say that, but there's a possibility that no matter what, we may raise a child together. So what I have or don't have is going to be imputed into what we bring up together. If that is the case, and some of those qualities are missing, right? Um, would you say something to that brother, or would you have a fear? Like, what would go through your mind? Chief Yuya wants to court you, but he's not studious. He's not, noble. He may not even be emotionally mature, right? Or Chief Yuya is not active. He's one of those cats who never contributes, never participates, never comes up with any initiatives, never really knows what's going on. It's just not really making things happen. He's kind of just being dragged along, right? But he wants to court you. What are some of the first things that go through your mind with some of those things being missing?
It's going to hinder me from being, I can't. I have to be in a position where I can live up to the required qualities that I'm required. And if those things aren't in place, then it would hinder me to be the new woman that I'm required to be. So I would, that would just be a red flag that I could not overlook.
Mm.
you know and again, I love the idea of having that covering, because that covering, can have that conversation with him, or, my head can have that conversation so that before he approaches a new woman, he knows, is reminded if he, for some reason, chose to disregard or not live up to those things, that, he's not going to be able to fulfill the mission in the nation building
Mm-hmm.
process.
Okay. Give thanks.
I I guess looking at it too, studious is a required quality for both the man and the woman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's like, okay, are we studying together? Are you giving me something to study? Or if I'm studying and you're not, how are you gonna help me when I get stuck and I have a question? Like, how are you gonna um give me the right well, just give me any information, because you won't even know what I'm talking about because you're not studying.
Mm-hmm.
um but that's like I'm just really stuck on that one, because it's like that's how we're supposed to grow. Everything comes from studying. You study stuff and you become knowledgeable of other things. So if you're not studying, you can't be industrious, you can't be globally astute, you can't be the other required qualities for the man that you're supposed to be, because you're not putting anything into yourself. So what are you going to put into me?
I know what he gonna put into you.
Well,
I know what he planning to put into you.
planning.
Well, even with planning to put that thing in, the question now becomes what kind of skewed, uh, warped light is going to be poured in me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the studiousness is not there, and the base, and these are basic qualities. Um, if the then how can you rightly divide the word, as scripture says, to share it with me, so that I can then um, pass it on to the youth that you're willfully, right? You're we're going to have together. How is that going to happen at all? Um, when it comes to giving back, uh,
Mm-hmm.
as simple as that. That giving back is basic in terms of economy, because
Sure.
that's relationship. We're talking about economy being based on relationship. So my question too would be like, so what would our relationship be like? What would that what would be the give and take? Not from the place where it's like, okay, well, what am I getting? But indeed just wondering what would that relationship and relating be like? Whether it's communication, whether it's, coming up with strategies to give me as a woman so that I can execute on them, based on what is your mission. A matter of fact, the question would probably be too, is there a mission in place? So there's just so many other things. That question is a deep question.
Mm.
It's like all of the qualities that you share, they all to connect, and even when some of them are missing, again, like giving back,
Mm.
that's not there. Then are you really in Anu? Are you really in
Mm.
the community for real? And if that's the case, and I say, okay, well, I'm going to hitch my wagon to this man who is supposedly supposed to be yoked to Yah, but then realize, no, you're not yoked to Yah. Then I would say to myself, okay, am I considering this because I'm desperate? Are you desperate?
Mm.
Um, or can you say, can you respectfully decline and know that, the Most High has something greater? You
Yes.
know, again, to also say that so to level. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
Water,
and when
water
we can,
stone level. I wasn't finished.
Water reaches. Oh no, you were breaking up. That's what I was sharing with you. Water reaches its own level, I think is what you said.
yes, water seeks out its own level.
Right.
And so if I were to reach out, say, okay, I'll look or I want this brother, then I'm a reflection of
That
what
would
he
be your level. Right.
yeah.
Mhm. And you made me think of, because again, if he is going to be my source, because that's
Hmm.
a thought I had. If this is the man is my source, and me being connected to him is what's going to dictate my lifestyle, then what is his source? And
Okay.
how is he receiving his source? Because he's missing all these key key things that need to be in place.
Hmm. So, and this, I'm not going to ask anything else. I know you're almost 3 hours in. So, if, according to the book, right, um, if these are the requirements, the things that have to be in place for a man to be acknowledged as an adult, and let's say if we have a community of males, because they're not men at that point, we have a community of males who have not achieved these, because as the book says, these are the basal qualities. So these are foundational. These are not like a big thing to have to aspire to. These are baseline stuff, right? So let's say if I considered it a race to those qualities, I come into the community and I lay all the qualities out and say, okay, let me just start, you know, attacking them one by one, get debt free and learn some creative arts and, become more vocal and develop courage and responsibility and all of these different things. And other men are not doing it, or other males are not doing it. Can I get all the women?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. That works.
Yeah. Like when people are on the chessboard and they kind of just like take it off. Boom.
Uh-huh. Okay, just yeah, clean sweep.
Clean sweep. Hmm.
Because based on what y'all are saying, because we're talking about leadership, an individual without these qualities is not an adult, and only adults can be heads. So um they wouldn't be qualified to even lead, which would be dangerous for the women who have distorted leadership or no leadership. Okay, thank you.
Yes. It
Mhm.
reminds me of an old it reminds me of an old podcast lecture you did that spoke about, and I can't stop laughing at this. Every time I think about it, I think about it. You said, yeah, people walking down the roads with a rat head. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
imagine I am a body with a rat head. A wagwan.
Mm-hmm.
No, it can't happen. No,
Rotted.
no. No, it can't happen. It can't happen because then if I have a rat head, it makes me a rat. That's the reality.
Right. Right. Or your body will turn on you and seek to escape because you're misusing me. The definition of abuse is to misuse something for a purpose, using it for a purpose other than what it was intended for. So a rat is not going to use a human body for the purpose that it was intended for, and a child is not going to use an adult body or an adult woman for the purpose that it was intended for. So therefore, that is inherently abusive. So if you have a guy who is not directed, or who's not knowledgeable, or who's jealous and possessive, or who's not peaceful, and he seeks to rule over and master a woman, the fact that he hasn't respected himself enough to cultivate those qualities to show her before even meeting her, this is how much I respect you. I became this person before I even met you. In that instance, then he would, by definition, be abusive. because he would inevitably misuse her. Hmm. Okay. Thank you kindly.
Thank you for your questions because I know they're going to be, they're the seed. It's a seed for really for reflection and for improvement, actually. So I really appreciate um, those questions because now they're bringing us, we're going to have to now go back and respect the source in reality. Um, anyway, yeah, I just thank you is what I should say. That's all I should say.
Yes, thank you. But it also correlates to the blog. It's the two qualities for the our new blog that's been released. I think it's studious and industrious. So that's pretty cool too.
And where, Imanaya, should we find such a wonderful blog?
You can go to ournewlifeglobal.org and click on ministries and click on blog. But you can also go to ournewlifeglobal.org and register for the retreat.
Uh-oh. Oh, Yafe, watch out. Oh, get competition.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for that. And if you're on Instagram as well too, like we have a link tree for that, takes you to all of the different pathways and places where you can find Anu content and chief driven behavior. Sorry, I just behavior. Stop it, Maria. Okay, but you can, if you're on Instagram and you're an Instagrammer, that's where you are most of the time. um yeah, you can click the link tree in whether you're on Anu Man, Anu Womb, Anu Life Global, and you can find the blog through there. um yeah, and we're gonna close. Shabbat shalom to everyone who's here. If anyone wants to have, like a final word or share something before we go, I thank you, those of you who are in the chat still looking and still tuned in. Thank you all very much. We're gonna play our quick little video to remind you of our annual retreat, which will be happening in August from the 24th to the 28th. It's always beautiful. The clips and videos you may see are only a snippet, right? It's only a small couple seconds of the beauty and the fellowship and the, you know, even tonight's build, and the value, the amount of value and perspectives that Chief brings to you know what we try to do here when we do fellowship and so on. The amount of different perspectives, different angles, and higher thought that he brings us to, that's all there too, and it happens around a campfire too, so even that is even more beautiful than anything. So
Yeah.
kind of
And it's always a pleasure and an honor to just be able to fellowship and to build with all of you, and and we can always count on Chief to bring clarity and also to take us on a deeper dive, which I always look forward to whenever he comes into the room on whatever platform it is. The midday affirmations on Sunday, as well as the men has a Sabbath call and the women have a Sabbath call, and we're all given. I know the women are given instructions on how we gonna build, what we're gonna learn, and it's always something that is enlightening. But every time I meet with our community, I walk away different in some sort of way. So just please stay tuned in, and there's always something out there. Uh, Alpha Woman Yakira Eden, she does yoga videos, and Kote Yafe does information on health. You know, um, Everybody's got something to bring and to share. So just stay tuned in.
All right, and I'm gonna say my closing statements, which are gonna be the comments. I'm gonna read through real quick. What you doing?
Sorry, I'm
What you
sorry.
doing? Oh, this is like the Grammys. Oh, I got it. You cutting my speech short
Sorry.
with that
Apologize.
doggone jungle music. Now, Alpha Woman now. Answer, he honors the truth of his placement as a man and doesn't allow another to usurp that standing for anyone. His spiritual hygiene, dietary choices, and standard of living speaks volumes as well. Sequoia, answer, he has knowledge of self, so he understands the woman's purpose and nature. Yafe says, if we are Anu, he would have to go to her covering. Sequoia, answer, I will let the brother know I'm not interested based on the following qualities outlined in the Anu way, required qualities. Alpha Woman now says, based on the precept read by Chief Yuya, he isn't qualified by Anu definition. As a man, so there are no questions. The inquiry is moot. It's like you taught us. No hammers, no hugs. That's that. The one with the hammer gets all the hugs. That's cute. So great, Bill. Yeah, all right. So, and it's all the congratulatory stuff. You can read that on your own time. That was what I wanted to share. The closing statements.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm gonna share the quick video and then peace, everyone.
Never give up,